has a phenomenal ecosystem. It's one of the great strengths of this country. It stretches from coast to coast. You find pockets in every single province, usually centered around research institutes, hospitals, universities, some of our great strengths where our science comes from, our research comes out of. Of course, you find them in Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver, those urban centers where you would expect to find them. But the reality is they're actually in every single province, and every single city's got a little cluster, usually focused on a certain area of the biotech space. And the ecosystem is comprised of a whole bunch of different components, including the large multinational pharmaceutical companies, but the universities, the hospitals, and then of course the companies that are sort of taking these fantastic ideas and growing them and trying to make them commercial realities in that marketplace. And Canada's ecosystem that does stretch across the country is really connected in a whole bunch of ways. And it is one of those ones that sort of takes some of these fantastic innovations and really sort of takes them to the center stage. It can't be done individually. It does require sort of a community to do this, and one of the great strengths that we've got in Canada is that ecosystem, and it's very, very healthy and robust.
Canada is a life science research powerhouse. We, with 0.5% of the world's population, we generate about 5% of the innovative output in life sciences, regardless of which metric you want to use. So we know we have an extraordinary resource of life science research across the country that is respected around the world, and all of the metrics show that.
One of the wonderful things about being in venture capital is it's like Christmas every day. Really smart people show up and say, I want to build something that's going to fundamentally change the world. And the really interesting thing is it's not happening in one area. So you have people working on robots, you have people working on big data, you have people working on nanotech, you have people working on not just biotech, but all these specialties that didn't exist 10 or 20 years ago. So all of a sudden, epigenetics becomes very important. Metabolomics becomes very important. Understanding the microbiome, understanding how viruses interact in your body. And that's really cool because it breeds enormous new areas of intellectual endeavor, enormous new companies, and a whole series of ways of solving problems and giving us tools that we never had.
When you go to labs and you go to companies and you see what they're doing, it's very exciting. And Canada is leading in a lot of different areas. And I think this government recognizes that in the last budget with the investments that were made in the granting councils. I think that's a good first step. And I think we need to work over the next year to get the right life sciences policies in place to support the biotech industry in Canada, as well as medical devices and the biopharma industry.